Welcome back, warriors. Time for another video. I'm on the road again. Make sure I get this different right there. And once again, I appreciate all the subscriptions and the comments and the likes. It's wonderful to see that you guys are liking what we're doing, and we're going to continue doing it. And since I have a abundance amount of energy because I'm on my journey, I'm just going to keep doing these things whenever I get a few minutes extra time running around. So I am now going to talk about another issue. I saw a good video on this, and I don't remember the title of it, but it was called Mental Diarrhea. And I think this is a very fascinating concept. So let's kind of delve into it. Before we do that, go ahead and subscribe and like and comment. We're at the channel trying to look for health, wealth, and spiritual growth. There's lots of different topics that we're talking about. So, mental diarrhea. Now, we talked about being on a journey and being confident and being able to take risks and say things that you normally wouldn't say, and do things because you really kind of want to focus on being the best version of you can be. So the key, guys, when you're looking at this, is to really kind of focus on getting things in your mind that are positive. Now, what happens, we'll just say, for example, and I don't want to get too gross here, but we'll say, what happens when you get diarrhea? Well, diarrhea is caused by you allowing something into your body that your body is saying, no, I don't want this nonsense in my body, right? And so you end up getting sick, and you're not really digesting the food the best way, and you don't then obviously let it out the best way either. And so it becomes something that is just going to be an awful experience, right? Well, the same thing happens in comparison when you are strong and you're on your purpose and you're eating the right kind of foods. You're not going to get diarrhea from eating the right kind of healthy foods. Well, the same thing happens mentally, my friends. Mentally, the same thing happens. And so mental diarrhea is really the idea of focusing on all the types of things that are bad for you. And when we talk about information, we're talking about information mentally that creates negative images for you. People who are trying to discourage you, people who are trying to criticize you, all those things. And I talk about getting rid of the clutter in your lives. This is mental diarrhea. It's painful. It's something that you don't want to be around because you just know it's not good for you. And the thing about it is, it doesn't allow you to become the best version you can become of yourself. And the idea is that you really want to kind of focus on bringing things in your life that are going to allow you to achieve things. And all those benefits you're getting, it's got to be combined with not only transmuting the information, but having the right attitude that you're going to only take things in your life that are going to be positive enough for you to strive. And those are the things you've got to focus on. And that's why I found this very interesting, because of the analogy they made with regular diarrhea and mental diarrhea. And it's the same type of process we have. A lot of things in this world are out there, and they're not going to be good food for you. That's why good food costs a lot of money, guys. You go to Whole Foods or you go to Trader Joe's, and good food is a lot more expensive. You ever notice that? Go to the dollar store, you go to these other things, this stuff is nasty food for you. And the nasty food you buy for 99 cents, right? But the other food you can't buy because it's very expensive. And so the whole idea is that, in many, many ways, our society is based on giving you diarrhea all the time. For one reason or another. And so the idea that you want to do is you want to stay away from these foods. And even if you have to wait, even if you have to kind of spend a little more money, you're going to spend money on trying to get the right kind of foods into your system so that you're not having diarrhea all the time. And you know that. And so I could tell you from a physical standpoint, if I'm able to go ahead and have the right types of foods, well, I can tell, after fasting for a while, that is really something that's very good for me. And I'm able to kind of do that and look at that and say, okay, I am going to feel great after this. And I'm not kind of overindulging in food, too much of this type of stuff. I'm not going to put bad food into my system. The same thing mentally. You're not going to try to put bad things into your system to try to get you diarrhea, even though it may look good, but it's not good for you. And that's a big difference. Images, those type of things are not good for you. They may look good. A beautiful person walking across the street may look good, but are they good for you? That's the whole point. All right? Is it good for you? Some things that look like they glitter are not gold. And that's important to look at, guys. Are they good for you? That's the question. What looks like it's glittering and happy and all this may be the worst thing for you. And that's why you have to kind of judge these things little by little as you go through them, what's really important, what's not. And so I looked at this thing with mental diarrhea. It's very interesting to me that those are the types of things that you got to be careful of. Because it's easy to be stacked into situations where you're getting all the wrong information, you're not really focusing on what's really good for you, and you're taking all these things that look good, and you're kind of going to the extreme and saying, okay, these are things that I want, when in fact, those are the things that are going to hurt you a lot and give you all that kind of diarrhea, you know. And so this analogy is a really good one in saying, okay, I'm going to watch what I intake into my body and into my mind, and I'm going to focus on making sure that I put the right things into my mind along with putting the right things in my body. And so as I talk about this thing, we talk about trying to become the best version of yourself from a physical standpoint. You obviously want to put the right foods in your system. For instance, I'll tell you, I go to McDonald's or something like that, and all the preservatives, all the things in there, I feel terrible. So I don't really get a lot. I don't eat McDonald's anymore, right? I stay away from McDonald's. I may go there for a sweet tea, but that's even, that may be hard. It's very hard, guys, to go ahead and keep yourself in great shape from a nutritional standpoint because there's so many things out there that can give you diarrhea. And so from a physical standpoint, that's the case. And certainly from a mental standpoint, it's also the case. So it's really interesting. But I go back to this whole thing that we talked about with the fact that if you go to a place, you can buy bad nutritional food as you can buy or get for free bad nutritional mental stuff, mental images. You can get those free, right? And they look good, but they're not good for you. And the same thing with food. So from a physical standpoint, a mental standpoint, and even a spiritual standpoint, you can get a lot of diarrhea. A lot of diarrhea because you're taking the wrong things in. And I just think it's a phenomenal, analogy here, because when you're looking at diarrhea, you're looking at things that should not be into your system. Your system, and especially if you have a pure system and you're on your journey and it's pure, your body's going to reject those type of things that are going to cause that diarrhea. Just like your brain should reject those things that are just not wholesome. So when you look at shows, even movies and things like that, a lot of these things are not wholesome any longer. And because of that, you're finding that people are rejecting those things. And you should be rejecting those things as well because they're going to give you mental diarrhea. And that's why we say that you have to be very selective with the things that you watch on the internet, that you watch on television, whether it's on your phone or wherever it might be. Don't take in stuff that's going to be able to give you mental diarrhea. Because from a mental standpoint, a physical standpoint, and certainly a spiritual standpoint, you can get all the wrong ideas and things into your system, and that would create all kinds of problems, and then you would get sick. And I'm not saying physically sick, even though you could get sick doing that stuff. If you're on your journey, your immune system is much better, but you still don't want to get to the point where your digestive system is all messed up. That's why we talk about hamburgers. Let's talk about this for a second, food-wise. And we talked about this in the Fountain of Youth book. You're not supposed to mix like bread and protein, right? So a hamburger is one of the worst things you can do. Now, from a mental standpoint, watching pornographic images is one of those things you can do, right? Watching movies that you know that have a lot of sex and violence is one of the things you can do. Because the effect it has on you is going to create mental diarrhea. And once again, I think it's a great analogy, and I hope that it provides a little bit of light on the fact that anything you intake into your system, physically, mentally, spiritually, you have to be careful and guard that these things, whether it's the energy suckers, vampires, the succupuses with your physical, or even the zombies with your spiritual type of emptiness, they're going to try to come after you. And they're going to provide all kinds of images and things. And you have to stay as pure as you can, because that's the bottom line. The bottom line is you want to get closer. In my case, I'm going to get closer to my Lord. And I'm going to do that by being as pure as I can be. All right. Enough for this one, gang. Until next time. Battle on.